This is a super easy SAT problem. You only want to know what are the roots. So the most important thing is where the roots or the places where this graph cuts the x-axis. So you see it's cutting it here. It's not cutting it, but it's touching it here. And then again, it's cutting it here, right? So this is -3, this is 0, and this is 2 here, like the x values. So what you want to do is you want to write it down as x minus, and then whatever value you got here, x minus, and then x minus. All right, it's going to make sense in just a quick second. So copy this -3 like this. And then this part is 0, so x minus 0. And then this is 2, you just write down 2 like this. Now you rearrange this a little bit, you can get x plus 3. And then you've got x, and then you've got x minus 2. Now the main thing is when it cuts it, right, you want to think about what are the exponents of it, or the multiplicities, right? The exponents is good enough for us to understand. If it cuts it, it's going to be an odd exponent. If it doesn't cut it, but it goes like this, and that word is bouncing. It bounces right from here. It kind of like doesn't, imagine this is a wall, it bounces. And this one, it goes through. So where does it bounce is the most important part. Okay, but before that, let's try to eliminate some of the choices. You've got x plus 3. Do you see an x plus 3? Yes, it's a possible answer. X plus 3 is a possible answer. X minus 3, we don't see it here. It's out. And x minus 3, we don't see it's out. Now, the only choice that remains is what's the deal with this x and x squared? So the main thing is because it bounces, right? If it bounces, then the exponent is going to be even. It could even be 4, or it could even be 6, right? It could be any of these values, but if it bounces, then it's going to be equal to this value. And so therefore, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 1. And so therefore, B is your answer. All right, now I've changed the problem a little bit. I've mentioned that this over here is not -3 anymore, and you can ignore these parts. It's -2. So it crosses at -2, then it bounces at x equal to 0, and then it bounces, and again it crosses at 3. So remember, you've got 3 answers here, -2, 0, and 3. And the question for you is which of these answers will work? Remember, you always start with x minus and put the value inside. X minus, put this value inside. X minus, put this value inside. And remember, where it bounces, that part, you want to make it a square. So which of these answers will work? Post your answers in the comments. Let's see if you got it. There are many ways to solve this SAT style problem. Very easy problem. Remember, this is still kind of midway through the test. This is the no calculator part. So it's midway through the test. So which values of a and b can you choose to make this half? So how about choosing b is equal to let's say 4. So if you choose b is equal to 4, then what would be that value of a that you can multiply to get this to be equal to half? Right? So clearly a can be 1. So you're choosing a value here. You've got a is equal to, because 2 times 1 is 2 over 4, and that gives you half. So that works. So all you need to do is choose a value. So what's the value of a that you chose? A is 1, and then b is equal to 2. Now you just plug it in here. So what is b? B is 2. My bad. B is 4 here, right? We chose b is 4. So of course you're going to get b is 4 over 1, and so 4 over 1, which is 4, is your answer. Very easy. Now I've changed this problem so that you've got this part here, 3a over b is equal to 4. Clearly, the easiest thing to do is to choose something which makes this 1/4. So what could be, I'll give you a hint. Suppose b is equal to 12, then what is the value of a that would make everything work over here? And then you simply plug this value inside and you'll get your answer. Clearly, these are wrong, but post your answers in the comments. What's the value of b over a if you're given this value? I think this will really help you understand these kinds of problems and boost your score. All right, this is a wordy SAT problem, but remember, the wordier the problems, the easier they are to solve if you just know the strategy. So what's the strategy? Note all of these parts here are just linear, right? They are just linear. They are just linear equations. You're also told that something decreases at a constant rate. So of course it's decreasing. So therefore you will get rid of these two because they are plus. Okay, a decreasing means the number in front of the variable, the letter, should be negative. So that's an easy, these two are easily crossed out. Now, what's the rate? In 2000, it was 1.9. So my bad, in 2000, it was 4 million. And then after 13 years, right, after 13 years, it became 4 minus 1.9, which is 2.1. So 2.1, which is 4 minus 1.9 barrels, decreased in 13 years. So this is the number of barrels. And this is barrels decreased in 13 years. So this is your unit rate. Of course, it's decreased, so it's negative. Now, which of these looks similar? Of course, what you can do is you move this here and you add a 0. So you get negative 21 over 130. Note that this is also known as the unit rate. We have a big video on unit rates, so check out the video on this channel. So it's negative 21 over 30, and that's also your slope really. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That value will also, that method will also work. And so therefore this is out and you've got this particular value. And so this is your answer. You don't even need to think about 4 here. All right, here's a problem for you now. Let's just calculate, let's just understand this idea. It'll be very helpful for you. What's the unit rate in this case? In the year 2000, you had 100 barrels, and in 2005, the value decreased to 50 barrels. So remember, it's something minus something over the amount of years. How much is the barrels changed? By how much quantity? By what quantity did it change? By the number of years it took to change it. That's the value of the unit rate. So post your answers. I think this will really help you to understand the problem a bit more. This SAT problem is slightly complicated. It requires 2 steps. So the first step is easy. Anytime you have these 2 equations and they're asked, you see the word solution, that's the SAT keyword, you want to substitute it. So how do you substitute it? So first of all, you got y is equal to this value, so just plug it in here. So let's take all of this and plug it and replace it with y, because you see y is equal to this. Just put that in place of y. That's the substitution idea, right? So you've got x squared plus 3x minus 7, and then just copy this down. Minus 5x plus 8 is equal to 0. Now you just group them together. So you copy down the x squared, then the 3x, combine it with negative 5x, you get minus 2x, and negative 7 plus 8 gives you a plus 1, and that's equal to 0. So x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now how do you factor it? Remember, this factoring, you can check out my other videos. There are so many videos, so many important problems for you to understand. But the easy thing is just find the factors of 1, which are 1 and 1. And then both of these should add up to this 2. So how do we solve this now? You always put the parentheses like these, like this over here. I'll put it over here. X, and then again you want to write down x, and don't forget a minus here. Okay, it's always a minus, and then just copy down these 2 guys. So x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now how do you solve this? Basically what you've done is you factored it like this, right? And then you want to solve this, which means each of these should be equal to 0. That's an important property. When you have 2 factors like this, set it to be equal to 0. That means each of these will be equal to 0. That's like a case 1 and case 2 over here. Now you just solve it. X is equal to 1, x is equal to 1. So really it looks like you have 2 solutions, but they are the same. So if they are the same, that means you have only 1 solution, and so therefore there is exactly 1 solution. So what does it exactly look like? You've got this as a parabola, and this is a curve here. This is a straight line, and it could be a straight line like this, right? It could be 2 points here, but actually what's going on is this, it just touches it, so it's only 1 point. So there is 1 solution, which means it intersects in 1 point, and then the coordinate of it is 1 comma something over here. We don't care about this part. That's the main idea of this problem. Now it's your turn to solve, and the only thing you want to know is what are the number of solutions to this set, right? Very easy. Try to factor it. So 16, all the factors of 16, 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4, and that's it. Which of these adds up to 10? Then you want to write down x minus something, x minus something. You put these numbers in here, and then you solve it. So x is equal to how much, and x is equal to how much. So what are the solutions, and how many of them are there for this particular quadratic form? So post your answers. Let's see if you get it. Now let's move on. These function problems from the SAT, you always want to do it on paper. So what are they saying? H of 0, right? As soon as you see this, this is a function, right? There's a 0 here, which means everywhere you see this h value, you just put in a 0, right? Every single place you find an x, also you put a 0. So let's see how we can look at this. So just write down g of 0 is equal to 2 times 0. This one has to be in parentheses, right? And then h of 0, every single place you just put down the 0, right? That's it. Now let's try to simplify it. It looks a bit crazy, but let's simplify it. So 2 times 0 is 0 minus 1, so that gives you a negative 1, right? And now remember, what you found now is g of 0 is equal to negative 1 over here. So this is the more important part. Now you plug it inside here, and you're going to get 1 minus negative 1, which minus minus becomes plus. You get 1 plus 1, and that's equal to 2. And that's your answer. So this is an easy answer. Remember, the main idea is you just cross this x out, just put whatever they put in here, just put inside, and then take this value, evaluate it, and put it inside here. Now it's your turn. If I were to say instead of h of 1, h of 0, what is h of 1? Same thing. Replace everything with a 1. So what would you do here? You would do g of 1 is equal to 2 times 1 minus 1, and then you would do h of 1 is equal to 1 minus g of 1. Too simple, and then just too easy. Just replace this g of 1 from whatever you have here inside here, and let's see what's the value of h of 1 that you get. Okay, post your answers. I think this will really help you to improve your math skills. You're given this quadratic. As soon as you have a quadratic and a 0 over here, you only need to factor it. So remember, what do you need to factor? You need to find the factors of 12. What are the factors of 12 here? You've got two factors of 12, a few factors of 12, 1 and 12, like this. Then you've got 2 and 6, then you've got 3 and 4. Now, because there's a negative here, it means that one of them, you should only find the difference of them. So let's say 4 minus 3, 6 minus 2, and 12 minus 1. What is the difference? 11. 6 minus 2 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. Now, that's what you want to check over here. Remember, there's a 1 here, right? So really, what you're trying to find out is what are the factors of 12? When you take the difference of them, you get 1. So the only two places which add up to 1, are negative 3 and 4. And now here's the easy part. All you need to do is just flip the sign. Okay, just flip the sign. So the answers are 3 and negative 4. These are the actual answers. Remember, you just got to flip the sign here, and these are the two values. But you're told that one of the values is greater than 0, and so 3 plus 3 is the only answer. Okay, if you need more details, the way you actually solve this is you will write this as x minus negative 3, which makes it x plus 3. This is the actual factoring of this problem. My bad, it should be x plus 4 times x minus 3, and then is equal to 0. So you really factored this like this, and then you set x plus 4 to be equal to 0, and x minus 3 is equal to 0, and then you get x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 3. But you don't have to do all of this hard work. Just take these values and flip the sign, and you'll get the answer. And so the answer, as we discussed, is 3. Okay, now you try to solve the same problem this way. I've given you this equation. So what do you want to do? You want to find the factors of 15, which are 1, 15, 2 doesn't go, 3, 5, and that's it. Which of these two numbers is going to give you the difference here? And then you want to find the answer. Remember, only one will work because the answer has to be greater than 0. So post your answers. I think posting your answers will really help you comprehend this problem. All right, let's move on to the next question. This problem is so wordy, but it's actually extremely easy. All you need to do is, you're told that the sum of this and this. So just sum it up. So let's write this over here, and then let's write it over here. So you've got negative 2x squared. I'm just going to write this at the top here, 3x squared, and then I'm going to copy the 7x, and then I'm going to write down negative. Now the sum means just adding it up. So 3 minus 2 gives you a plus 1x squared, right? 7 plus 1, this is a 1, obviously. When there's nothing, there's a 1 here. So you've got 8x, and minus 8 plus 31 gives you plus 23. And that's it. When you sum these two guys up, this is your answer. And so now this is the idea of matching the coefficient. So you're told that this is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c over here. So now what is the meaning of matching? We've covered this topic in much detail in our other videos, but how do you match them? Whatever number is in front of x squared and whatever number is in front of x squared, you just match them, which means you're just going to write down 1 is equal to a. Here, how do you match it? 8 is equal to b, right? And here, what do you do? 23 is equal to c. So 23 is equal to c. So you add this up, you get 1 plus 8 is 9, and plus 23 gives you the value of 32, and that's your answer. Now you try this problem. You've got this one equation over here, and then the other expression over here is x squared plus another 5x minus 4. So what is the sum of these two? Right? And if it's written as ax squared plus bx plus c, then what is the value of a plus b plus c? I think this will really help you understand this problem. Add this, add this, add this, compare it to these values, and then again add it, and you'll get your answer. This is an excellent, easy problem. Very easy to solve because they're asking you the value of y. Now, how do you solve this problem? You want to eliminate the x values. And how do you do that? You simply are going to add these equations. So when you add negative x and x, you get a 0. And then you've got 1y and 3y. When you add it, you get a 4y. And then negative 3.5 plus 9.5, which means 9 minus 3 really is equal to 6. And then you've got the 0, you got the x out. So really you've got 4y is equal to 6. And then you divide by 4, you get y is equal to 6 over 4, which gives you 3 over 2. And that's it. That's your answer. Super easy. Now you try this problem. What is the value of y if you've got this equation? Remember, all you got to do is just add them. So what do you get when you add this? What do you get when you add this? And what do you get when you add this? And then just isolate it, and then you'll find the value of y. And that's it. Post your answer in the comments to see if you can solve this problem real quick. Does this problem really deserve to be on the SAT? It's such an easy problem. All of this verbiage is of no importance. Note, what they're asking for is over here. You always want to think about y is equal to ax plus b. And then what is b? The b is always the y-intercept, or it's the starting value. So it's just a starting value. Now, what's the starting value in this? So you can read it up over here. A startup company opened with 8 employees, and then it hired 2, etc., etc. But the keyword is 8, and so therefore the starting value is 8, and so that's the value of b. So simple to solve. That's your answer. Now let me see that you're still aware and awake. What is the value of b if the startup company opened with 20 employees? Extremely easy to solve. Remember, b is always the starting value. So with that in mind, let's get started and post your answers of what the value of b should be. To understand this particular problem here, just think about this idea, this circle first, okay? So let's look at this over here. This circle covers 360 degrees, right? But suppose I were to cover only 90 degrees. Do you see I'm starting from here and then I'm going all the way up to here. So what I've done is I've covered 90 over 360, which is this ratio, right, is equal to 1 over 4, right? Isn't that exactly equal to this arc length over here? In other words, if you were to go from here to here in terms of the angle, which is 90 degrees, right, over 360, so I'm going to write down 90 over 360, isn't that exactly equal to this length, okay, this part, this arc length over the entire circumference? So what I'm talking about is this arc length over the entire circumference, right? This arc length over the entire circumference is also 1/4. And that's the main idea. In this question, this arc length over this entire circle, this ratio is exactly equal to 2/5. So I'm going to write down 2/5 here. But it's also equal to the angle, which is x over 360. So you just write down x over 360. Very easy to solve this now. Remember, the main idea is this ratio of this length, it's almost like this pizza crust over here, this part, divided by the entire circumference, right, is equal to this angle, this x angle over 360. Why is it 360? Because the entire angle around a circle is 360. And then it's easy, you just cross multiply. So how do you cross multiply this? You get 5x, right, this times this. So you get 5x is equal to 360 times 2. This times this, 360 times 2, right, 360 times 2, which is equal to 720. And then you divide by 5 on both sides. So when you divide by 5 on both sides, the answer that you get is 144 degrees. And so that's your answer. Now it's your turn to solve. Instead of 2/5, what if we had 1/5? All right. So this part is 1/5 of this entire thing. Then obviously this part is also 1/5 of the entire thing. So how do you write it? X over what value is equal to this part, which is 1/5. Right, this value, I think we've talked about it, is the angle around the circle. And then you just cross multiply. You get 5x is equal to blah, 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 and then divide by 5 to get the value of x. So let's see if you get this value of x. Let's see how smart you are. Post your answers in the comments because this will be really helpful for you to memorize this. This is a very, very common SAT question.